but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. And we've got Bob Savage here with us.
Well, if this is Monday, this must be Radio Free New York.
Radio Free New York, it is. Today is Monday. Today is also, I guess, day 100 of the shut down the New York economy game. And I gotta say, I'm pretty much I'm kind of done with it, Bob. I don't know how you feel about it.
Everybody's done with it. It's really funny. Friday night, I took a picture. I was in a local watering hole up on the Charlotte area, up on Lake Ontario. Took a picture inside this bar. Social distancing was gone. It looked like July of last year. Everybody's sitting at the bar. Nobody had masks on. They're all drinking. They're all ordering food. They're all partying. And that was that.
Yeah. I gotta say, I Friday, maybe around 5 or 6, went just kind of in the direction of the beach on Lake Ave. And I didn't go to the beach or the port, but I could see it from the road. And it looked like there were just so many people there. It looked like a concert or something like that. I mean, it was jam-packed.
Well, the whole thing's ridiculous at this stage because, for example, last week, Livingston County, just south of Rochester, had 3 members of the Board of Supervisors, the supervisors of the towns of Livonia, Geneseo, and Lima, voted to end the shutdown. They were outvoted by 13 other towns in the county, so I don't know if that was some kind of a grandstanding thing on one side or the other or both, but people are fed up with this. And, for example, Livingston County, population 66,000. The total number of hospitalizations, COVID-related, 2. There hasn't been one since April. And we've had 7 deaths in the county, 5 of which were in one nursing home, which, of course, was perpetrated by the governor ordering sick people into nursing homes, which were ill-equipped to deal with it. But everybody's all familiar with that story. And now, the mainstream media has all moved on, and they're, no. We're not interested in what Andy Cuomo did, turning New York State into a slaughterhouse for senior citizens. No. He's doing such a great job with coronavirus.
Yeah. No, it's been a mess. We've been talking about it. If you guys are unsure of how much of a mess it's been and you don't know, feel free to check us out on the YouTube page, the Facebook page, check out the podcast. We've got, probably 90 or so days worth of discussion on just how bad this has all been.
Oh, listen, how about New York City? Check this. There's a video now online showing a group of masked men hopping out of 2 cars. One's a Jeep Wrangler, and one is an RR Cullinan. I had never heard of this kind of car.
I don't know what that is.
Well, it's a high-end SUV with a starting price of $333,000, but priced as delivered regularly goes well above $350K. These people storm into the store in Soho, in Lower Manhattan, loading their vehicles with boxes of stolen goods, and then driving away in this $350K vehicle.
Wow.
That's a peaceful protest there, Andrew.
Yeah, the protests have it's interesting. It depends on where you go, and I truly believe that the protests are being hijacked by a lot of opportunists, people who are very interested in, wearing a mask because the state's mandating it. So, and I kind of relate this back to the yellow vest protests. Remember the yellow vest back in Europe?
Yeah,
The government,
France primarily.
yep, yeah. So the government forced those people to always have, by law, those yellow vests in their vehicles. So you could never get in trouble for having a yellow vest on your person. The same thing's happening here. Government is now mandating people to wear masks so people can wear masks in public and they can't get in trouble for it. You know,
Right.
there's nothing. It's a problem that government has essentially created for themselves.
Well, to a large degree, yeah. I mean, it used to be in many jurisdictions, it used to be illegal to enter any place of business wearing a mask because,
Yeah.
of course, that would hide your identity, and thus the surveillance video would be unusable. Daily Mail reporting looters in New York City dropped off in luxury cars with power tools and suitcases before being picked up and driven to the next location, according to eyewitnesses. Police said to be looking into numerous reports the rioters were organized. They're now checking license plate numbers. Some even said to have used a stolen U-Haul to carry off the loot.
Yeah, that's I don't know. You know, I thought a lot about this over the weekend. I had a good amount of time to reflect on things going on. And I have to say, everything that has gone on politically, economically, has just like built up a lot. You know, and we could go back years, right? But even just the last 100 days, starting with, you know, government overreach, going even further and further beyond anything I've ever experienced in my life, and then seeing how divisive people have become over what's happened with the virus, and seeing people of all different backgrounds and different ideologies, like just ready to fight with each other over sometimes the smallest of things, sometimes bigger things. And then this George Floyd thing happened, which is an absolute terrible, terrible thing. And it just kind of like added so much more to it. And I just, like, over the weekend, I was just really kind of sitting here like, wow, like this year, this last 100 days has been so much. And it almost feels like people are at a point where they have an unlimited amount of things to disagree on. You know,
Right.
and it's really kind of frustrating to look at where America is right now, to look at where New York State is. And I'm not saying that these are new things. Like, I don't want somebody listening to go, well, you know, hey, do you think like bad things haven't been happening before that? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the attitude of the people has escalated. The emotions have escalated. The government's actions have escalated. Like, everything is at this super heightened sense of, I don't want to say chaos, because it's not totally chaos, but it's definitely just like bad stuff.
Yeah, well, it's
You know?
it's additive. I mean, what happened? It's just like you know, your allergies. Everybody can tolerate a certain number of allergens, but after a while, all of a sudden, your body starts to rebel and say enough. Well, it's the same thing with mental health. We started off the year with, you know, the Democrats in Congress, you know, pursuing all these ridiculous fake agendas like impeachment, which clearly was not supported, you know, by any evidence. You had the investigation into, you know, endless investigations into the president and the rhetoric shooting back and forth about that. We had all the corruption in the intelligence community of the U.S. government. That was first and foremost in the you know, in the minds of the public. Then you had Cuomo, you know, adding all kinds of super left-wing agendas. Now that he was in total control of both houses of the legislature, and he was grabbing and you know, accumulating more and more power. So the people were extremely, I think this has been downplayed a lot, extremely annoyed about the plastic bag ban. They really didn't like that. Then you have the coronavirus and all of the infringements on our personal liberties and all the bad impacts on our kids in school, followed by this. And
Yeah.
people, you know, people have just had it.
Yeah, and that's why I think at this point, like 2020, we're just like halfway there. And this year has just been the year of so many things in such a short period of time, between spending, political, civil liberties, civil rights, the whole everything. It's been just crazy.
Well,
So
essentially, we're in a cold civil war, Andrew.
I think so. I think so. So what I'm gonna do for the rest of the show is I thought about this morning. I thought about talking about something that kind of I don't want to say will distract us from this, but give us something a little different to think about. Um, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about some things that we could actually be seizing these opportunities for to make education better, because I think we've got a really good opportunity with everything that's happened to improve education in a way that we haven't in a very long time. So we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. We are the biggest towing company in New York State, but we do a lot more than just towing. We will tow just about anything, but we will also repair just about anything as well. We offer a courtesy shuttle and pickup. We offer a drop box service. We have all these amenities that we've put in place to make sure that every one of our customers can receive the best service possible. Please give us an opportunity to win your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. And, with everything happening in the United States today, I think we have the opportunity to take some of our circumstances and change education as we know it and make it significantly better than what it is today. So I've got 3 or 4 things here that I want to bring up that I think have been pushed for a while now, but because of quarantine and distance learning and shutting down of schools and stuff like that, I think people are finally open to some of this stuff. And when I say people, I'm being maybe a little too broad here. There have always been people open to this. Some have already engaged in this, but the majority kind of hasn't. And I think now we have kind of this good opportunity to maybe take advantage of that. So the first one I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, and that's just simply homeschooling. I think we can revitalize homeschooling. I think people are becoming open to it. I think that they would be interested in doing it, and people are kind of already doing it. Now the joke is, with the amount of time people are spending with their kids, maybe they're not open to it at all. I don't know.
Or the other way to look at that is, if a guy spent all this time with the kids, maybe we could actually give them an education and have them not be indoctrinated into left-wing nonsense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's actually one of the things that I believe parents would really find rewarding with homeschool, is that they actually get the time to spend with their children and talk about their morals and their values. Because the public school system has essentially evolved into this institution that teaches the morals of whoever the professor is, or the system, or whoever develops the curriculum.
Well, which
you know,
is
they're the ones
almost universally left-wing, by the way. Almost
Yeah,
in all
yeah,
cases.
no,
It's
absolutely.
you're right. It's a conveyor belt for left-wing political indoctrination of 10-year-olds. And, you know, if you're shocked about the stuff that your kid is coming home and telling you, about how the United States is a racist country and how it's, inevitable it's going to fall. My 14-year-old daughter said this stuff to me back in the 1990s. It's inevitable that the United States is going to fall. All political systems fall. Where does a 14-year-old get that idea?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's taught in school. And here's the thing. So if you homeschool, you have the chance to instill your morals and your values in your children. And here's the thing. Just because they're your morals and values doesn't mean everybody else is going to agree with them. Obviously, there's going to be people who homeschool and their morals and their values are going to be different, but that's not a bad thing either. I mean, diversity is a good thing. Somebody's going to be wrong, or maybe everybody's going to be wrong, but that's okay. You get to teach your child the way that you know that your child learns. And you can teach them the things that are important to you and carry on family traditions, cultural traditions, things that kids just don't get in school. It's not the purpose of school. School should have been education. And, some people will probably say, well, are you arguing that it's not? I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm saying schools have become so rigid and so structured to the point where teachers tell me all the time that they're not allowed to teach in ways that they know students learn. They have to teach things that aren't actually relevant to the students or, the track that they want to be on. And when you move in the direction of homeschooling and your kid says, you know what, I'm really interested, I want to become a pilot, and that's like my dream job. Great. You can focus on math. You can focus on weather. You can take them to like airplane museums. Maybe you can work out like flight school or something like that and make that a part of their education. So when they're 18 years old, they're ready to start with an airline and go to, air school or whatever they need to do.
Embry-Riddle. That's the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Wherever it needs to be, you could focus on that. You're never going to get that with the public school system.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and the whole trick of this whole thing, too, is that increasingly now the education political bureaucracy is tightening down the screws on homeschooling, much in the same way they did with private schools and parochial schools, because they want to bring they don't want an escape route for anybody. They don't want a lifeboat for someone who wants their kid to get an actual quality education. No. It all has to be, all of one of a piece. with the indoctrination industry of political leftism. So what they're doing is making homeschooling more and more, subject to the rules that have governed the other forms of finger quotes education in the public sector.
Yeah, and the other really positive thing that I think is worth talking about for homeschooling is it reduces the burden on public schools. So if you're somebody who really believes that public schools are the greatest thing ever, but they don't have enough funding, they're under-resourced, they don't have enough, they just need more to be successful. If you believe that funding and resources is the reason that public schools are failing, and that's being kind of general. I'm here in Rochester, where our school district is awful. I know that there are other school districts that are performing very well. So if you're listening from one of those districts and you feel like your district is performing well, that's great too. But people who choose to homeschool, they're not tying up those public resources. So there's actually creating more resources available to the public school system. And if that's important to you, you should be supportive of homeschoolers. You shouldn't be opposed to them. You should look at them as, people who are helping the community in maybe a way that you didn't think.
Yeah, the education bureaucracy doesn't see it that way. They want every kid in their school under their thumb, and also they get money, for every kid from the state. So if every kid that escapes and is actually free thinking and is being taught the truth as opposed to left wing, ideology, that represents an incremental failure on the part of educrats.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they're not going to feel great about the next thing I'm going to say, which is I really believe that New York State should be giving tax credits to people who homeschool. Because they aren't using those resources. Yeah. And it'll never happen. Well, at least certainly not with Cuomo. But I believe that's the right thing to do. I think that's what should happen in New York State.
Of course it's the right thing to do. Why should you pay for your kid's education twice? You're shelling out all this money in your property taxes, staggering, school taxes. And then now you got to, buy the materials and get the training and get yourself in a positive track to educate your child at home. So you pay twice. And that also holds true, of course, as we all know, for private schools, parochial schools, charter schools.
Yeah. And I've heard people who truly oppose that idea and concept, and they'll say things like, well, I don't want to be paying for somebody's religious education. We're supposed to have separation of church and state, and I don't want to pay for somebody's religious education. Well, if you're just giving them a tax credit because they're not using the educational system, you're not paying for their religious education. And you could make the argument that the way public schools are set up right now is a form of religious education. It's just secular education. So I don't think that argument really holds any water.
That's right.
I truly
the religion of the political left is atheism. That's the state religion. So there you are endorsing religion.
Yeah, and that it could definitely be viewed that way. And I think from just a basic market standpoint that we should not be forcing people to purchase products and services that they're not using. And I think that government has had a really long-standing history of forcing people to pay for services that they're not using, they may never use. And I think that is just inherently wrong. So that's my take on homeschooling. And there's this myth that floats around about homeschool students, and I bring it up every single time we do the show because I never know who's listening for the first time. But I do hear people say, oh, homeschooled students are socially awkward. They don't know how to interact with society. It's so not true.
No.
So not true. It's been debunked so many times. I know people who are homeschooled. You couldn't tell a difference between them and somebody who went to public school, except they're usually way smarter than the people from from public school.
And much more outgoing and socially, aware.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about how we can use remote learning and automation to really enhance education moving forward. We'll talk about that and more when we come back on Radio Free New York.
More than twice the power.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. Tonight, clear skies, cool back into the 50s. Tomorrow, the heat gets cranked up a bit with lots of sunshine. We could be close to 90 for a high on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the real humid weather moves in as well, with temperatures again close to 90. Could be some thunder Wednesday night. I'm Rich Cornelia on WYSL.
At Victor Chevrolet, we want you to know we are here for your transportation needs. Our factory-trained specialist in the Victor Service Department can expertly handle any repair. Our concierge service can arrange for pickup and delivery of your vehicle if you choose. We are here for repairs, maintenance, inspections, warranty work, and recalls. Victor Chevrolet can help no matter where you bought your car or truck. And if you need a new vehicle, Victor can sell you a car virtually on our website, victorchevrolet.com, or by appointment at our store. Call 869-6196. Trade-ins, financing, leasing. They're all available remotely and at your convenience. We're here to fully serve Chevy customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and throughout the Metro and Finger Lakes. Depend on Victor Chevrolet, here for you with sales or any service issue, no matter where you bought your vehicle. Give us a call at 869-6196 or visit victorchevrolet.com. You can depend on the team at Victor Chevy for all your transportation needs, now and in the future.
There's a place in the village of Avon you and your critters will love. Whether they're big or small, whether they've got hair, fur, or feathers, Avon Feed fits every need. There's a full selection of pet foods for dogs and cats, bird feeders, suet, and dry shot boots and garden shoes. They've got grass and clover seed too. Check out their frequent flyer birdseed program. Buy 10 bags of birdseed, get the next bag free. Choose farm feeds and great equine products like Blue Seal and Nutrina, plus pull and grains. Everything for your pet from feeding bowls to toys, leads, collars, and tie-outs. Avon Feed and Supply has what the big pet chain stores will never have. Tim Cole and his great knowledgeable staff. And if you think you'll save money at that pet superstore, well, think again. While you're at Avon Feed, don't forget the two-legged pets with River Rat 1000 Allen cheese and great flavors including hard to find mean and nasty. Plus, once again, nut butters, Nunde mustards, and Rickles pickles. Open weekdays 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 4. Avon Feed and Supply. West Main Street at the bottom of the hill, just west of the Circle.
WYSL. Right now, our community needs to recover from many types of trauma because of COVID-19, unemployment, cultural tension, and closed businesses. We need to be reminded of the way forward. Join us for Villa of Hope's Portraits of Hope Gala on June 13th at 7 p.m. You'll witness inspirational stories of our neighbors right here in our community who have worked to rebuild relationships, recover their potential, and renew hope for the future. You'll see from mental health treatment to substance use treatment, from workforce development to education, from youth to adults, how Villa of Hope is there to help you find and reach your potential throughout your life. Tune in to Channel 8 on Saturday, June 13th at 7 p.m. to hear about these truly amazing journeys and how we can start to find our way to recovery for ourselves and for our community. Visit villaofhope.org for more information. That's villaofhope.org.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Are you experiencing back and neck pain after weeks of quarantine spending hours in front of a computer or phone? Dr. Andrew Lazaro at Solace Chiropractic has provided over 80,000 treatments and offers safe and effective care to help your body get back to functioning as it should. Insurance is accepted and he is currently taking new patients. So call Solace Chiropractic 598-3031, located at 160 Packets Landing, Fairport, or visit him at solacechiropractic.com, 598-3031. Schofield's Farrier Service, a professional local horseshoeing and trimming business for equines of all sizes, including mules and donkeys, serving Orleans, Genesee, and Western Monroe counties. Call Matthew at 585-490-3960. Schofield's Farrier Service.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Just scrolling through the comments here, and I see Samantha says that something needs to pass that makes it so only people using public schools should pay school tax. I'm on board with that. I truly believe that the education system would be significantly more judicious with their spending, and they would try to be better, because then they're essentially competing for funds. If you decided to pull your kids out of public school and they lost the tax dollars, they would be encouraged to be better, to compete with private schools, to compete with homeschools. But what happens right now is whether or not you have kids in school, you're paying school tax. Yeah. So it's all going in there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The senior citizens on fixed incomes, they're paying school taxes. I mean, I think it could be voluntary. They could pay if they wanted to, at least a de minimis amount. But I mean, look, it's just common sense. The people who should pay for a service are the people who are using it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a great point, and I would love to see us get there someday, where you could say, you know what, I don't have kids in school, but you know what, this year, yeah, why don't I give $500 to the school tax fund just because I'm feeling generous. I want to do that, but I'm not being forced to.
Yeah, make it tax deductible on the federal and your federal income tax.
Yep, that would be a beautiful thing. So the next thing I want to roll into to talk about is something that I think the coronavirus could actually make possible. I think if we don't do this now, we're probably going to be 50 to 100 years before we start doing this. So we have the opportunity now. We should do it. And that's combining remote learning with automation to make education way, way better than it is right now. And I want to kind of explain what this means, because some of you might be listening and thinking, wait, do you mean like robots are going to teach my kids? Like, I don't want that. That sounds maybe worse than the system we have now. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'll give you guys like a brief example of something that is in existence today and how it could be modified to make education better. So I work with a company usually once a year who grades, they grade student tests, and the grading is very specific. I think it's on a scale of like 1 to 4, 1 to 5, and there's very specific criteria in the rubric as to what each score is meant to be. And 3 different instructors or teachers grade these exams to validate that the exams are being graded properly. It's all ran through software. The teachers see the exams digital on the screen. They read the students' answers. They apply the grade. The software is smart enough to notice if one teacher is grading test scores above average or below average based on their consistent scoring. So the scoring goes on for like 8 weeks long. So if the software recognizes that teacher A is consistently giving people a 4 when they should have gotten a 3, it'll actually notify the supervisor that they need training, and based on the type of questions they're grading incorrectly, it'll actually suggest the appropriate training to help get that person accurate. And vice versa, a different teacher that might be grading too low on specific types of questions, or maybe just all questions, the software is smart enough to pinpoint and realize where the deficiency is and recommend appropriate training to get that person where they need to be. So you might be thinking, okay, Andrew, so this is teachers grading tests. What does this have to do with education? Well, right now we're doing remote learning. We're doing learning where students can learn from home, almost like homeschool, but kind of outsourced a little bit, where the teacher is still not present there in the home. We can expand this to where it's no longer just like district by district. I mean, you could literally take education and say, I want my student to learn this type of education. And maybe they could do distance learning with a school specialized in that education that might be in a different part of the state or even a different part of the country. And then as your student actually goes and interacts and they're, doing their homework, they're taking their tests and all this stuff is happening, the automation in the learning of the software could actually detect where your student is struggling, how they learn, and suggest ways to fix it so that that student can overcome things. And the way I see this going long term is that as this goes on, the software can actually group your student with other students that learn in a similar way and struggle in a similar way, and pair them with a teacher or an instructor that matches their learning ability and can teach in a way that students with that like need can learn. That might have been really convoluted. Did that make sense, Bob? Did I explain that okay, or did that just sound like really weird and cyborgish?
Well, because I've worked with you so long, everything that you say makes sense to me, Andrew. So.
Oh, there you go.
No,
all right.
I don't mean that to sound like a put down, but I think it was fine.
So, I think we have this opportunity where people are open to the idea of remote learning and the idea that we could actually allow software to help us identify where students are struggling and match it to their learning style to help them advance better through education. But I think if we don't take action like now, and I think if we wait till the next school year starts and people get back into normal routine, I think people are craving that social connection so much that they'll actually cling on to it harder. And we'll be like decades and decades out of making an advancement like this. Now, I do want to address the social aspect too, though, because that's really important. And some of you might be thinking, well, if my student becomes like just a distant learner and their class is held somewhere in another part of the country and they just sign into Zoom or Google Hangouts, and that's what education's like for them, which I personally believe it would be way more immersive, but I don't have time to go into that right now. I still think that we would still have things local, local sports, local activities, maybe like 1 or 2 days a week. Students get to go to the Y or Planet Fitness, and they still have gym time with people local to them, with their peers. Just their education is tailored to the way that they learn and to the topics that excite them, that can like push them forward in life. And I look at places like Planet Fitness. A membership costs $10 a month, and it comes with like training a couple days a week and a bunch of other stuff. I guarantee you, like, none of the school districts are running a budget for like gym class or sport activities at $10 a month. And Planet Fitness is wildly profitable. And there's things like the Y and other gyms like that too. So I think that there's some cool outside of the box things that we could actually do with education right now because of coronavirus, because of maybe really bad government policy, but we could actually use this bad policy and this bad situation to propel education forward, maybe by decades. I don't know. And I think we just have this kind of unique opportunity to explore it and play with it.
Well, automation and distance learning is inevitable. It's coming one way or the other.
Yeah, and it's just a question of, do we take advantage of it right now? And like me being in this type of industry, I know how much it would reduce costs. But I'm also like really scared because I know somehow government is going to find a way to make it cost way more than it does right now.
We have to implement it the right way, from the public side or private side rather, I hope, before government gets hold of it and screws it all up. Because as we know, that's government's strong suit, is ruining everything they touch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And once government gets involved with it, I mean, the cost, the Planet Fitness membership's a great way to look at it. Planet Fitness can turn a profit at $10 a month. Whereas if you put government in charge of that, it would cost like $900 a month, and you'd have regulations on which machines you could use, and you'd need special licenses and special fees to use the other machines.
And your neighbor would have to pay for it for you.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be terrible. So we gotta find a way to do this, guys. I think we could make it happen, and it could be absolutely amazing for us. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, I've just got one, maybe two more topics to talk about for education, then we'll wrap it up. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Fiorella, a family-owned farm-to-table Italian restaurant at the Rochester Public Market, is open for curbside contactless takeout Wednesday through Saturday. Lunch 11:30 to 2 and dinner 4 to 8. Fiorella offers wood-fired, old-world-style pizza with naturally leavened dough and house-made fresh pasta. Check out our Facebook and Instagram at Restaurant Fiorella for nightly specials. Thursday is gnocchi night. Call 434-5705. View the takeout menu on the web, restaurantfiorella.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're talking about things that we could possibly innovate due to government policy with COVID-19. The topic for today is education, changes that I think people are now open to that maybe they wouldn't have been before, because they've had to go through just hundreds and hundreds of Zoom calls and remote meetings and distance learning and all of this other stuff. We've kind of been forced into using technology that some of us, like me, who use it every day, were pretty comfortable with, but a lot of people weren't. They had never heard of Google Meet. They had never heard of Zoom before. The idea of doing a video conference in their home was maybe never even a thought for many people. And now people are using it as a part of their day-to-day lives. So I really think that we could take distance learning and really innovate it into something that could be totally amazing for students to learn better, to have a more rich education experience, have something tailored to the way that their mind works, the way that they learn. But to make all that work, we have to look at education regulations as something of the past, because the way our regulations are set up right now are so rigid that they expect the student to conform to the regulations. And that's not how it should be. Students should be able to learn how they want to learn, how they're able to learn, and about the things that engage them and interest them, because that's most likely what they're going to end up doing when they leave school. So to make it, to set things up where you could have a student choose a distance learning school that might not be in your region, maybe not your county, maybe not even your state, we have to reevaluate things like the Board of Regents in New York. It's got to go. We have to eliminate education regulation and replace it with standards. And you might be thinking, Andrew, what does that mean? How are standards and regulations different? Well, regulations is simply just government monopolized control, whereas standards could be still created by the government, but also by trade associations, by insurance companies, by medical associations, by unions, whomever. People could create their standards and schools could choose to follow those standards. And then you and your student can choose to enroll in a school that meets the standards that you believe are best and most important. So I'll give you guys just a couple brief examples. Say your child wants to become a nurse or a doctor or some sort of medical professional. You might seek out schools that have standards issued to them by a medical association that you trust, maybe a medical association associated with the hospital that your student wants to work at, along with maybe some standard approvals from the state that they want to practice in. You could just choose to enroll in that school. You wouldn't have to leave your home, and you could do that. Now, of course, there's going to be hands-on stuff that you're going to have to go through in high school. We'll talk a little bit more about that later if there's time. But same thing. Maybe your son or daughter wants to become an electrician. And some of the electrician unions put out standards that they think schools should follow to become really good electricians. Well, you would seek out a school that follows those standards and has that stamp of approval. You might not care if that school has follows the FDA food standard, because they're not learning to become a chef or to run a restaurant. They're learning to become an electrician. So they care about the electrician standards. And it goes on and on. You might decide that you're going to stay in your region, you're never going to leave, and you live in a place that agriculture is really big and really important. You might choose a local school that has standards that were established by your local area and very specific to the climate and geographic region and the type of agriculture that your region does. And that's the standard you want, and that's the standard you might go for. And somebody from across the country might want to join that school too, because they're interested in the exact same thing. All of this would be possible if we did education based on standards instead of regulation.
Yeah, based on the market. I mean, you want to see the way the top-down works. Look at the reopening procedures with the COVID shutdown. You know, these dumb, arbitrary rules, like, for example, well, this weekend we're going to open up stores in malls, but only if they have an outdoor entrance, and the mall has to have 100,000 square feet. Or, well, first of all, what difference does it make whether people wander around in a store or in the the general open mall areas, the hallways and whatnot?
Yeah, it's all arbitrary.
It's stupid.
Which is why I think people are so upset about it. I mean, if you look at various types of organizations and companies that have opened before others, you can clearly draw a line of, hey, that thing that was essential is really dangerous and at significantly higher risk than maybe something that's in phase 4. Government has really botched the way they did things, and I think they're doing it more based on revenue than they are actual safety. And I think that's why people are so upset about it.
Yeah, or it's graft too when top-down regulations come in New York State, because the corruption is so rampant. I mean, it really looks. You look at the history of why Chernobyl happened, why we had that explosion at that nuclear plant in the Ukraine back in 1986. A lot of it was because of stupid top-down regulations that forced these people to do things a certain way. And instead of it being about safety and about actually testing emergency procedures at this plant, it was about perpetuating the careers of bureaucrats in the nuclear power industry in Russia, which was under tremendous pressure at the time in the USSR to constantly increase production.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that actually kind of brings around to the last piece here, which is when we pull back these regulations, high school could look vastly different in New York State than it does right now. Basically, high school in New York State right now is kind of like, get your credits for Regents, get your certain math thing, and then you graduate kind of scraping around, maybe trying to get into a college, but you don't have any real life skills. And I think if we change this whole system, we eliminate the Regents, we eliminate those regulations, high schools can be much more focused on a final career destination. We could have high schools be internships, apprenticeships, trade schools. There are other countries in Europe where high school is exactly that. And it goes up to 13th grade instead of 12th grade. But when those students graduate from high school, they're a certified nurse. They're a licensed plumber, a licensed electrician, or they basically have like an associate's degree and they're ready to enter law school, or they're ready to like move on to whatever the next step is in life. But they're like years and years ahead of our students.
Yeah, well,
and
not obsessed on testing. Testing and scores,
yeah.
testing scores, and also, and then on the other hand, you got political indoctrination. So those are two massive time wasters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things that we're missing out right now in education, and this is 100% due to government regulation, is nobody's being taught budgeting. Well, I don't want to say nobody, because that's not true. There are some schools that do it. But what could be integrated in schools, and I think definitely would be more emphasis on life skills like budgeting, understanding a credit score, how to buy insurance, understanding debt and interest and loans and RG&E, your gas and electric.
How to balance your checkbook. If there are young people at the bank, they joke about how Generation Z or whatever it is comes to the ATM, they do a balance inquiry and they think that's how much money's in their checking account. And then they should also know how to unclog a drain, how to take a trap apart underneath the sink, fix that, how to change a tire.
Yeah,
all these life
the
skills.
Basic
how to
things.
How to cook a meal, okay? How to shop for food.
All these things, they're left behind. And some people say, it's the parents' jobs to teach that. And I agree, except now we have generations of generations of generations of parents that were never taught that by their parents. And they don't know. So nobody's teaching these kids. We get rid of the regulation, they could be taught. They could be taught at home. Could be a lot better. All right, guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.